and invite in the coach of the national champion LSU team, Jay Johnson. Jay, I suppose that never gets tired hearing coach of the national champions, does it?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. You have a pitcher like Paul Skenes, it makes it a heck of a lot easier to do that.
You're a lot smarter as a manager, aren't you?
Yes, for sure. And really happy for Paul and really happy for Pittsburgh. I just think it was a great decision by Ben and those guys to choose Paul, and everybody will see that in short order.
Tell me why, Jay. What do you like about him? I mean, obviously that stuff, the stat I can't get over is 209 strikeouts and 20 walks in 122 and 2/3 innings. Other than that phenomenal stuff. Tell me about him.
Yeah, I think the pitching performance was dominant. He went 1-2-3 or 3 up, 3 down, in just about 50% of his innings this year. And I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that. People were rarely getting on base, let alone scoring runs against Paul. But the human being is just as exceptional as the pitcher. He's a leader. He's a competitor. He's a worker. His preparation is next level. What he does between the time he finishes one outing and starting the next, relative to his body, relative to his scouting, and then what he needs to do to keep getting better or get to that next rung on the ladder of his pitch execution is phenomenal. It'll show in time in Pittsburgh, but I've never seen anything like it.
Jay, it's funny you talk about like that. Our guy that covers him, I work at the Post-Gazette here also, Jason Mackey talked, I guess, to his Air Force coach, texted him at 7 this morning, and he said Paul was already at the gym. The day after being drafted, already at the gym.
Yeah, that surprises me zero. Just the work ethic, the discipline, the attention to detail, the commitment to his preparation is second to none, and that's why that exceptional talent comes out of skill to help LSU win this year, and will help the Pirates win for a very long time.
How did it all turn for him this year? Because he really, he had been a hitter, a catcher at the Air Force, and all of a sudden becomes the best pitcher that I've seen some scouts say they've seen in 35 years. How did it all come together?
Yeah, I think it's a tribute to Paul and those qualities that I just laid out. I think he could have hit 25 home runs for us had we chosen to allow him to be a position player as well. I just kind of started sensing as we were minimizing the hitting that the pitching was really taking off and getting to another level, where whether it was the velocity increase, the improvement in the slider should be noted. And I just think he got the opportunity to really, really work on his craft and do it at a level that he hadn't yet, because he'd always kind of been a hitter first, to be honest with you. And then for me, it became about, let's make sure, a pitcher doesn't lose a fastball and hit him on the hands or something like that to take away his ability to pitch. And it just made more sense to save his legs, to save his body, and just have him pitch only. And the Pirates, they got the best pitcher in the draft in a number of years, that's for sure.
We're talking to Jay Johnson, coach of the LSU national champion baseball team, Paul Skenes, manager. Jay, they tell me if he'd have caught and been a DH, he'd have been at least a third-round pick this year. And he, I guess he mentioned last week, I'd like to try to be Ohtani, but yesterday he said, I'm a pitcher first. Do you think, I can't imagine the Pirates going to do anything with him but have him pitch.
Yeah, if you had the right matchup and you needed a 3-run homer to win a game, I guess you could roll him out there and you might be able to do it. That's Paul. He seizes the moment. He's a talented person and player. But I think him going all in on this thing, I think you have a future number 1 starter, future all-star, potential Cy Young winner, and maybe more in him, because the person, like I said, is exceptional. And the player talent as a pitcher is really like nothing I've seen in college baseball ever before.
Now the one worry that everybody has about a power pitcher is arm trouble. His mechanics, I assume, are pretty damn good?
He's really clean. He worked really hard on that. He really works really hard on his body as far as his hips, his legs, his back. He's a great mover in his delivery. He's really improved his ability to move through his delivery and be efficient in his body. His arm is short and certainly connected to his strength in his body, and is a big power arm. But he uses it so well. He protects his arm about as well as any pitcher possibly could. And he's a big, strong guy, and so he has a lot of things going for him in that regard. And, I mean, the last time he pitched, he threw 40 fastballs 100 miles an hour or better, and it's a pretty good clean bill of health right there.
That sure is. I listened to his comments yesterday, and he said the biggest adjustment is going to be going from, 18 starts with 7 days in between versus 30, 35 starts with 5 days in between. But it sounds like he's going to do whatever he has to do to make that adjustment.
Yeah, and he only did that one time for us, which was in the College World Series. He pitched on a Saturday night against Tennessee. Typical 7 innings, 1 or 2 runs, 12 strikeouts, and then went 4 days later against Wake Forest and went 8 shutout innings where he threw 40 fastballs 100 miles an hour or better. So Paul has got great aptitude, and whatever adjustments he needs to make to get to the next level for him to be the best pitcher he can be, I have so much faith in his ability to do that. It's going to be special to watch that.
You know, Jay, I don't know. You must be living right. You didn't have just the number 1 overall pick on your team. You had the number 2 pick, Dylan Cruz, the outfielder going to Washington. What can you tell me about him?
Special talent, special player. Much like Paul, the human being is just as good as the player. That's how you win national championships. That's how you become the best pitcher in Paul's case in the country and the best hitter in Dylan's case in the country. I think the special thing about Dylan is, he has all 5 tools, but they're like usable skill tools to help the team win. It's not projection with him. And both of these guys are super, super fast to the big leagues and special. I was lucky. Usually only get like one guy like either of them in your coaching career, and we had 2 on the same team at the same time.
You know, it's funny, Jay, before I let you go, the Pirates sent out a picture of Skenes smoking a cigar after you guys won the national title. And, man, it brought back memories of Joe Burrow after LSU won the football championship a couple years ago. Made me just smile thinking if Skenes works out the way Joe Burrow did for the Bengals, the Pirates are going to be pretty happy, aren't they?
Yes, and, I don't know Joe Burrow personally, but kind of study the person and the competitor. And there's a lot of similarities between him and Paul. And, more importantly, I just can't speak higher of Paul and the person that he is and the player that he is. A great job by Ben and their staff to make sure they brought that home because he was, in my opinion, the choice.
It sounds like it wouldn't have been bad if they'd have picked Cruz, though, right?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, they asked me on an interview yesterday, what should the Pirates do? I said they should take a player that won the national championship this year. So
that's a safe, politically correct answer, isn't it?
Yeah, they were both worthy of it, and they both got absolutely what they deserved, and the spotlight on them. And in